Hello, this is Paul going over one of my recent chess games with SimSim33 from Germany. I am running the white pieces today and he is playing the black pieces. This is a fine example of pawn formation, spoiler alert. I'm going to be running Larsen's opening, so let's get right into it. I'm going to advance my pawn for normal Larsen's opening, and at this point, pawn formation commentary begins. He is going to defend this pawn from my bishop with this pawn, and this is crucial later in the game, extremely crucial, because he is going to weaken his kingside pawn structure, opening it up to all types of white bishop attacks, white diagonal attacks, and it's only going to get worse from here. And I'm just doing normal Larsen's opening. He's going to try to solidify the center of the board with his pawns, and I am going to come in with my queen, give him a check. So at this point, he can do two things. He can move his king out of the way, get it really hinder his development. He won't be able to castle. Or he's going to do this. He's going to kick my queen back to where it was, but now his kingside pawn structure is even weaker. He has a backwards pawn, which is going to be a target of my attacks and of my plans. And his kingside pawn structure is not very good. So I'm planning on castling queenside now because I don't want these kingside pawns just coming down the board and ruining my kingside structure. And I am also anticipating that he will castle queenside. So I'm going to start planning for that. I'm going to just develop my pieces, trying to put pressure on this pawn. I'm going to defend it. Just developing, and I'm going to kick this bishop. And I was actually hoping to get him to trade to get my queen in board so that I could put more pressure on this pawn and start attacking this backwards pawn with this queen. However, he's not going to take. He's just going to move his bishop back, and I am just going to try to maneuver my knights, try to disrupt his pawn formation and attack him. I'm going to just keep developing. I was anticipating here for him to block this check with his knight, but instead he's going to just keep moving pawns all over the place. And now his queen side is even weakened by that opening up that black diagonal by moving his pawn out here. So I'm just going to calmly move my pieces back. At this point, I have all of my pieces developed. I'm just looking to get my queen developed so I can castle queenside. I am tightly packed on nothing farther advanced than my third row. His pawn formation looks awful, and I don't know what's going on over there. He's going to castle kingside. That threw me for a loop, and I'm going to castle kingside because now kingside is safe, because if he starts pushing his pawns down to get me, he's going to weaken his own kingside safety, which is already deplorable at this point, in my opinion. At this point, however, the computer is giving him just a slight edge. So he's going to try to bring his pawns down the board even more, chasing my knights all over Kingdom Come. And I'm going to try to get him overextended. So it's just the general themes of me trying to get him overextended by offering a trade here, or by even better, uptaking, and then he'll retake here, and he will have lost significant amount of control of the center of the board with his pawns, and I will be able to gobble it up of control with my pieces. So now he will continue to move my knight all over with his pawns, and now what he's looking to do is try to fork my knights, which is bad for me. This knight is already bad enough, really, right here. It's doing nothing at this point. A knight on the rim is dim, and this guy is pretty dim. He's going to try to fork my knights with the next move, and I'm going to allow that to happen by just recapturing here. He's going to come down, and I'm sacrificing a piece at this point. I'm going to bring my knight up, and he's going to take my knight. And really, that knight was doing nothing. I mean, it's a full piece, and it's worth a lot down the board, but right where it was at right at that point, was not very valuable. And actually, the computer, although I've sacrificed a piece, the computer is favoring myself at this position. And I didn't know that at the time. I was just kind of worried, hoping it was going to work out. And I'm going to take that pawn back. So I've managed to gather 2 of his pawns up for one of my pieces. And he's going to take there. I'm going to recapture with my pawn. And what I was really hoping for was for him to come down and take with his bishop here. Because then I would sacrifice my queen. He has to retake with his queen. And then I can come and pin his queen to his king. I really liked this position in my analysis, and the computer doesn't like it. It's still favoring black. However, it's not what happened. He's actually going to take with his queen, and quite surprisingly, I will not just immediately exchange, because to take is a mistake. I'm instead going to pin his queen to his rook. So now he's going to get rid of his queen. We're going to trade queens. I'm going to recapture. And now he has to defend his rook somehow. So you would think he's going to go here. But however, he's just going to defend it by sacrificing his knight and allowing me to take that knight for free. You might wonder, why doesn't he just move his rook here? Quite happens if he goes there, I will be able to capture this pawn and then fork both of his rooks, my bishop. So in his analysis, he decided to go here, sacrifice his knight, and I am going to take. And at this point, I have a very strong position. I need, at this point, to start sacrificing pieces down, simplifying the board, and then getting an easy endgame and wrapping up another victory. However, I get very greedy, and I want to create a pass pawn. And that will run into my downfall. So I'm going to attack his bishop and attack this pawn, trying to create my A file pawn to a pass pawn. He is going to allow me to have that, but I fell into his trap. I saw this a little bit too late. He is able to pin my bishops. I saw this as soon as I let go. And now I am going to go down. The computer says this is even. I completely blew a 3-point lead. This was a blunder, as big as they come. Not as big as they come, but it's a blunder. Anyways, I decide that I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep analyzing. So I find this plan, right? I find this plan where I'm going to defend my bishop here with my rook, and then he will double attack it. So now he's winning. He's going to win a bishop. So I'm going to bring my rook over. So now my idea was, if he captures my bishop and I take, and after the exchange he'll be up a bishop, but then I just have a brutal check here. If he blocks with his bishop, then I can just gobble up that bishop and it's still check. If he blocks with this bishop, then I can calmly take this pawn. This bishop is pinned to the king, and he really cannot do anything about it. He can move this pawn for running spaces. He can capture here to try to check my king to stall. If he does either of those, I can come here. And then if he continues, I can eventually get a discovered checkmate, really, at this point. So, even though I blundered my bishops, I found a brutal win. And I was very excited about that until my plan was going all according to plan. I got the check in, and he does the sacrifice the bishop move. I was like, that's stupid. And I take it, and then actually he moves his king. I did not see that coming. I should have seen that coming. I don't have a strong continuation here. In fact, the computer is giving him just a very minute edge position. So he managed to escape my trap, and I was sad. So I'm just going to take this pawn because I wanted to. And instead, he's going to take my bishop. I'm going to take that pawn. We're going to stop here for a second. Right now, we both have rooks. He has a bishop, but I do have 3 pawns on top of his advantage. So it's material-wise, it's even. And I'm going to have to play for my advantage, which is pass pawns. That's the only thing that's keeping me in this game, are these 2 pass pawns. and I have to decide which one I'm going to promote. And I'm going to decide based on the promotion squares. So this one, the B file has a black promotion square, and the C file has a white promotion square. He does have a black squared bishop, so I'm going to choose the C because his bishop cannot block my C pawn's promotion square. So I'm going to try to start advancing my pawn for promotion to a queen, and he is going to try to bring his bishop into the game to block that. I'm going to check him with tempo, and this move was really what sealed the deal. He is going to retreat his king all the way and back to the 8th rank. And now, remember back to these two moves. These were crucial moves at the very beginning. Now his king is stuck on the 7th rank. He doesn't have pawns that can hide behind to escape. For example, this f pawn was still here. His king could escape. Nope, there's nothing to hide him from this rook on the 7th rank, and this king is going to be stuck there for the rest of the game. If he would have brought his king to the center of the board, which you never want to do, except for in this case, to avoid being stuck, we don't know what would have happened. It probably would have been a lot better for him, but instead he tucks it in, and I am able to just keep pushing this pawn forward without having to worry about that king any longer. He is going to check me and then try to take my pawn. I am going to sacrifice that pawn to him in order to put all my eggs in one basket in the promotion of this pawn. And I need to continue to promote it. He's going to try to block it with his rook. And at this point, he should have resigned at this point because this bishop cannot move at all. If it moves anywhere, then it moves here. I have a check. He has to take with the rook and promotion. So right now this bishop is virtually pinned to the king. Otherwise, I get a check-in and then a promotion. So all he has is these pawns. So he's just going to move pawns to try to stall the game, have me make a bad move, and get a draw. And I tell him at this point in chat he should just resign, and he doesn't. He's going to keep moving pawns. And then at this point, he's going to shamefully move his king back and forth, doing the I'm not going to resign king dance of shame. And I'm going to move my pawns into his formation. And those pawns are done. These pawns can't go anywhere. I have more passed pawns, but I cannot promote these pawns because that would give him an ability of his king to escape, freeing up his bishop, which is his strength, which I've taken away, but I don't want him to get that strength back. So now he's going to move his king back and forth, saying, I am not going to resign to you, Paul, even though you've clearly beat me. I bring my king all the way up, and at this point, I have support on this pawn, and I can move my rook to secure the promotion square. And at this point, he's going to resign. So, a couple takeaways. The pawns are very important. Pawn formation is important to keep your pawns in a good formation, and also to keep your pawns because they can become queens. So it's the power of the pawn this game, and that's it.